people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
She's not going to teach me anything in the pro ring. Boxing's boxing. I can box, I can fight, front foot, back foot. She's a good opponent, don't get me wrong, and I haven't took her lightly at all. I take every opponent properly, 100% trained in the gym, so I've not taken it lightly, like I've said. I'm more than capable of beating the girl in front of me on Saturday night, and I will do so.
Was unbeaten up-and-comer Charr Artingstall ahead of what will be her 5th professional fight this weekend. She's going to be facing Vanessa Bradford, veteran journeywoman who's been in there with a lot of good fighters. Michaela Mayer, Alicia Baumgartner, Tiaria Brown, Hyun-Mi Choi. She's got a lot more pro experience than Charr Artingstall. More rounds in the bank, more fights, but 13 fights to Charr's 4. Charr Artingstall, who sports a professional record of 4 wins, no losses, and no draws, 28 years old, a southpaw, one of my favorite southpaws, one of my favorite unbeaten up-and-comers in the featherweight division. For me and my money, it's between Raven Chapman and Charr Artingstall. Those are the 2 best unbeaten up-and-comers in the featherweight division here today. What I like about Charr is that she seems naturally mean-spirited, naturally spiteful, and that kind of spite is more adequately used in the pro game than the amateurs, in the amateur game, which is really just 3 rounders. It speaks to the confidence level they have in Charr, her team, her promoter, her managers, that they're putting her in there with someone as experienced as Vanessa Bradford, who's been in there with the likes of Michaela Mayer, Alicia Baumgartner, so on and so forth. I expect Charr to win this weekend, I do. It's how she wins, it's how she looks.
Charr, she already has the look of a put-together fighter. Only 4 fights in. She comes from a great amateur background. She's a great amateur.
I think she'll make an even better pro, an even better professional boxer. More rounds to use that power, more rounds to punish and break down her opponents. I have a very high opinion of Charr Artingstall. She'll be in there with Vanessa Bradford this weekend on what was supposed to be the undercard of Joshua Buatsi versus Dan Aziz, but as we all know, Dan Aziz suffered a back injury. Those two, they're not going to be fighting this weekend. However, the show is going to go on. It will go on for the rest of the fighters on the card, Charr Artingstall being one of them. And that's going to be on the Sky Sports and Boxer side of things in the United Kingdom. Here in the United States, it'll be aired on Peacock, their official U.S. broadcast partner moving forward. All boxer shows will be aired on NBC's Peacock streaming platform here in America.
And this show is going to be going head-to-head with the Jack Catterall versus Jorge Linares show, the Matchroom show, also in the UK, aired here in America on DAZN.
Being honest with you, I think Catterall versus Linares, I think the Matchroom show is going to draw more eyes to it than the boxer show. That's what I think. And it's unfortunate because Charr Artingstall, I honestly wish she were a matchroom fighter. It would be easier to access her fights and get more eyes on them. I don't think boxer really knows how to promote fighters as well as matchroom does. They don't have the years of experience, the know-how. I wonder when is Charr Artingstall's deal with Boxer going to be up? Because I would love to see her cross over to Matchroom. Lauren Price, too.
I feel like if they were with Eddie, they'd be a little bit more well-known. They'd be further along in their careers right now. That's how I feel.
In any event, she's going to be in action this weekend, attempting to advance to a pro record of 5-0. I think she's going to do it, but it's all about how she looks, how she handles a more experienced fighter than herself in Vanessa Bradford. We'll see. In men's heavyweight news, trouble in paradise when it comes to what was supposed to be Manuel Charr versus Jarrell Miller for what was the WBA regular title. Some of you may recall that Manuel Charr had an ongoing lawsuit with the WBA, and I don't want to bore you with all the gory details, but the way the WBA chose to reconcile that lawsuit was to give Manuel the WBA regular title after Daniel Dubois lost it in the Usyk fight. They gave Manuel Charr the title under the condition that he must satisfy Jarrell Miller as the mandatory challenger to that title. But now, Manuel will not defend the title against Jarrell Miller as previously planned. According to the agreement with Charr and the WBA, the fight had to be finalized by October 14th. However, due to financial reasons, the fight has not been made, and the reasons likely are that nobody stepped up to pay for it. Neither Manuel Charr or Jarrell Miller are with a major promotional outfit that could inject money into such a show. Instead, the WBA has issued a resolution where Charr has 60 days to put together a defense against an opponent from the current ratings. And with that being said, it seems like Jarrell Miller has been cut out of the picture. This was Jarrell Miller's best bet to get back into world title contention, whether people liked it or not, because if he fought Manuel Charr and beat him and became WBA regular champion, he would be one of several mandatories for the winner of Fury versus Usyk whenever they're done with their arrangement. Now, he's stuck out in the cold, out on the fringe, where he has been since he mounted his comeback over a year ago. He's had a couple of fights, won some fights. He still is an unbeaten fighter. And with this recent mandate from the WBA, it really was his best bet to get back into world title contention, whether people liked it or not. But apparently, the WBA has given Manuel Charr an out to where he can fight someone in their rank standings of his choosing, presumably someone with a major promoter behind them, because he himself doesn't have one. He can't bankroll his own shows.
I mean, they didn't say it in plain English, but the reason that Manuel and Jarrell ain't fighting is because there's nobody there to pay for the show. There's nobody there to do it.
I half expected a Queensbury Promotions to swoop in and pay for the show, put it on an undercard of one of their fights they have coming up, as a means to put the winner in the ring with Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois, who's on the bounce, he's on the rebound. He suffered his second professional loss in his last fight to Alexander Usyk, and a fight between him and Jarrell.
You could sell it.
But I guess it was not to be. And now Jarrell Miller, who's ranked at number 6, he's out of the picture. Ranked at number 1 is Deontay Wilder. Maybe he could fight Manuel Charr for the WBA regular title. Ranked at number 2 is Martin Bakole, who's over there on the Sky Sports and Boxer side of things. I think he's supposed to be fighting on the undercard of Fury versus Ngannou. Ranked at number 3 is Anthony Joshua, who's in the market for an opponent to fight either later on this year in December or early next year in January.
And what you will notice is, Deontay Wilder, Martin Bakole, Anthony Joshua, they have more means, more resources than a Jarrell Miller. Jarrell ain't got no money behind him, no muscle.
Looking at these ranks, it seems to me like it's just a question of who does Manuel Charr want to sell that WBA regular title to? Because any one of these guys, Deontay Wilder, Martin Bakole, Anthony Joshua, they'll knock his block off. Any one of those 3 guys will knock him out.
Now there's some Cuban guy ranked at number 4, goes by the name Linier Perro. But I don't know that guy and I don't know who he's with. Ranked at number 5 is Russia's own Arslanbek Makhmudov, and he's with Top Rank.
For the right price, perhaps Manuel Charr would be willing to defend his title against Arslanbek Makhmudov.
Sell is more like it. Lose and sell that title to Arslanbek Makhmudov for the right price. Ranked at number 6 is Jarrell Miller, but we know what happened there.
And at number 7 is Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois, who's on the bounce, he's on the rebound. He needs a comeback fight, a winnable one. And Manuel Charr, that's about as winnable as you can get at this level, at this point. So who's to say that talks for a Dubois versus Charr fight haven't already started? They gave him 60 days to iron out a deal, and I think he can do that. He can do that if Frank pulls out the checkbook. Though it's not set in stone. I'm just bouncing ideas around. And any one of those aforementioned fighters could end up fighting Manuel Charr. Any one of them could financially make it worth his while to get that WBA regular title and get in position to fight the winner of Fury versus Usyk. I remember Eddie Hearn saying that Anthony Joshua might fight on the undercard of Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. And in a situation like that, where you got a real moneymaker like Anthony Joshua boxing on an undercard instead of headlining, Manuel Charr would be an ideal opponent. It's not a great fight, but it's not a headliner either. It's not a main event. It's just a stay busy fight.
And we see what the incentive would be. It's not just fighting Manuel Charr to be fighting Manuel Charr. It's because he has a regular title you can use to get in position to fight for a full one, to fight for a full title.
It's just me bouncing ideas around. Nothing is set in stone yet because the WBA has given Manuel Charr the luxury of choice. He can choose someone from these ranked standings to defend that title against. So I guess it's just a question of who can make it worth his while. Who can make it worth his while financially?
And who gets to him first. Most of these guys got decent money behind them, so who's gonna beat who to the punch? We'll see.
Manuel Charr is not a young guy, so he likely doesn't have any illusions about what he has left to give to the sport. He can just use that regular title to get some money in his pocket and bow out.
Get put out, you mean?
In any event, Manuel Charr is back on the market for an opponent.
If you take a look at what Al Haymon has done in the sport, he ruined the relationship with NBC. He ruined the relationship with Fox. He spent Showtime's money. He ruined. So every network he goes to, he just ruins it. So I have, because it has to be his way or no way. So I don't know how a DAZN will even entertain anything like that. So I mean, I'm open to it and willing to work with anybody. But I just want to make sure people understand, what has been going on, in, with networks and why it's been happening. Somebody just told me, well, yeah, because everything that Al Haymon touches turns to bronze.
Because it doesn't turn into gold. Al Haymon's fractured relationships with several networks over the years, how the American boxing media fails to highlight this, his unique ability to fail up in their eyes could impede a potential relationship with the DAZN platform, because I don't think they'd let him run wild the same way that Stefan Espinoza did at Showtime. Rumor has it that things with Amazon are not going smoothly, but Al Haymon is reluctant to go into business with DAZN, who has an interest in his stable. He's lucky they do, because he ain't got much to offer outside of 2 Canelo fights and maybe some Gervonta Davis fights.
What do you mean, fail up?
It's tantamount to having a good shift at work last week, but getting fired from the job this one. Most will highlight that this year was a very big year for the PBC, perhaps the biggest that they've ever had, not highlighting the other 4 years before it and what took place, what ultimately led Showtime to leave the sport of boxing.
They don't want to put it on Al Haymon. They don't want to put it on the leadership.
What they will tell you is that the PBC had a very big year this year, that it wasn't Al Haymon that failed Showtime boxing. It was the business of boxing that failed Showtime. They'll do anything, say anything, but lay the blame at the feet of where it belongs.
You play these sound bites in front of a select group of people, and they'll sooner turn it into an argument about how Oscar's in no position to talk. Oscar's not perfect.
He's had several missteps, made several mistakes over the years that costed him. Canelo Alvarez leaving Golden Boy, his strained relationship with Ryan Garcia. Yeah, Oscar's not perfect, but that's not the subject.
Who's saying he's perfect anyway?
Is what Oscar is alleging true? That's the question. Could Al Haymon's way of doing business impede a potential relationship with DAZN?
And is he in any position to turn his nose up at them? Because rumor has it that while DAZN is interested in bringing his stable on board, he is reluctant to do business with them. is he in any position to walk away?
I feel like Al Haymon would rather work with a broadcaster that doesn't know boxing. Thus, they would have to trust him and his judgment, thereby allowing him to run wild the same way he was running wild at Showtime. That's what I think. Whereas the people at DAZN, they are acquainted. They are acquainted with the sport of boxing, the business of boxing.
They're not strangers to the sport the same way that, say, Fox was when the PBC jumped into bed with them.
Rumor has it, Al doesn't want to go into business with DAZN. I'm not the least bit surprised. You won't be able to do at DAZN what you were just doing at Showtime, which saw them leave the sport of boxing and saw Fox leave the sport of boxing. No, at DAZN...
He doesn't like the optics. The optics of the PBC, whose employees and fighters used to regularly trash DAZN and talk it down. He must hate the idea that his stable may end up there.
The idea of it, that willfully going into business with them is an admission of defeat. They have effectively outlasted you, and what you have are a stable of refugees, fighters without a broadcast partner, fighters without a home.
It would be an admission of defeat for Al Haymon, and it would be an admission of defeat for the Haymonites, who joined in trashing the DAZN platform and talking it down. Some are still doing that now.
They don't want the PBC to go over there, claiming that DAZN is already expensive enough as it is, and if they take on another stable, it will become that much more expensive. An annual DAZN subscription is a little over $200. That may seem expensive at first,
but think about how expensive it has been to the consumer just to watch boxing on Showtime, just to watch boxing.
Whether it's a month-to-month subscription to the Showtime platform or an annual subscription, what you're looking at is a little over $100, a little over $100. But you have to tack on all those pay-per-views. What is it, 6 or 7 pay-per-views at a price point of $80?
$80.
That's about $560 in pay-per-views alone. Tack on the subscription fee.
A little over $100.
Another $100, bringing the grand total, what you have to spend to see boxing on Showtime, to close to little over $700. And you're telling me it's DAZN that's too expensive? What I think is that you guys don't actually pay for any of this stuff. You illegally stream all of it, which is why they have these bizarre perspectives that mathematically don't make sense.
It doesn't make sense to the customer, to the actual consumer.
They're against the PBC going to the DAZN platform, although to the consumer, that's value for money. 3 different brands of boxing on one platform instead of several. With several subscription fees, you could get all that content for just one. And these guys are against it.
Because of what I told you. If they were to end up there, not saying that they will, it would be an admission of defeat.
So they'll say things like they don't want the PBC to go to DAZN. They'd prefer that they go to Amazon, like they're going to pay for that. They're not going to pay for that either.
Bums.
Fucking bums. The truth is, it would be beneficial to both the consumer, the customer, and the promotional outfit. It would be beneficial for Al Haymon to go where the boxing fans are, but his way of doing things, his business practices, would very much impede such a relationship.
It was on his watch that Showtime Boxing got run into the ground. DAZN's not going to let you do that.
He doesn't want to go there. So let's see where he does go, because his fighters, they're going to need fight dates, and they can't wait forever.